Morning, greetings, welcome. Hi, hello. B.S. Rajati for this course again, energy engineering for engineering, mechanical engineering students, BE or DE, third year. Last class we have studied this cooling tower, part one, part two, you can say. So in that we saw part two. So in the syllabus actually, or in the course, it is just mentioned cooling towers. We have explained in optimum way with practical touch what are the cooling water requirements, what we may cooling tower, importance of cooling tower, and then uh, types of cooling towers with merits and demerits of each. So here we'll see the comparison between natural draft cooling tower and induced draft cooling tower. We saw it in last class. So no mechanical moving part, practically no maintenance cost negligible, etc., etc. Mechanical moving parts, more maintenance required, maintenance cost is more. So in compared to this IDCT, NDCT seems to be better in performance. Then we saw the two types of cooling towers other than the natural, forced, and induced draft cooling towers we studied in the last class. The indirect type of air cooled or dry cooling towers, this condenser directly gets cooled with the air, and there is a surface contact, and this hot water gets condensed and taken back to the boiler for regeneration of steam, and the hot air goes to the atmosphere. So you can see there is a direct, means it is air cooled type or dry cooling. No water is required in this case. Hence it is called direct type air cooled or dry cooling towers. In next we saw the indirect type of or a Heller dry type of cooling towers. In this we saw there are two heat exchangers. One is of condenser and another is cooling tower. The heat exchanger means the word, keep in mind, tube shell type heat exchangers you may be seen where surface contact is there of the cooling medium and the main fluid. So that's why the condensed hot exhaust steam which condensed in the condenser with the help of, you are seeing this water which is being indirectly cooled by means of this air and going to the atmosphere, and that cold water is recycled in condenser. So there is no direct contact of these fluids, as well as there is no direct involvement of these cooling towers, you can say, in this indirect type of air cooled or dry cooling towers, indirect dry cooling towers. Then we saw types of cooling ponds, what is the purpose of cooling ponds, etc., in thermal power plant and in small industries, to make a note of it. Okay, so today we are going to start with uh, this theoretical topic, that is part, you can say, lecture number 7 of this unit 2, this steam condenser and environmental impacts of thermal power plant. In that, this part B, environmental impact of thermal power plants, different pollutants from thermal power plants, their effects on human health and vegetation, methods to control pollution such as particulate matter, oxides of sulfur, oxides of nitrogen, dust handling system, ESP, scrubbers, water pollution, thermal pollution, noise pollution from thermal power plant, and its control. Okay, so we are going to, this is a theoretical part. I will just go through it, which is you can understand easily. And okay, we'll start with the slideshow so that it is easy to explain this theoretical part. So thermal power plant, as you know, main fuel is used as coal, and this coal, 65% of the energy that is electricity is generated from coal-based power plant. So coal is burnt into the furnace of the combustion chamber boiler, and its heat is convert water into useful steam, which in turn used to generate electricity with the help of turbine generator combination. The thermal power plant has serious impacts on land, soil, air, and various social impacts. The thermal power plant are also said to emit large amount of mercury and generate large quantity of fly ash, which destroyed the surrounding environment. These plants also consume a large amount of water. Due to these problems, they require a proper environmental impact assessment before commencement of the project. Thermal power plant affects environment segments of the surroundings region very badly. A large amount of SOx component, NOx, and MPA, these particulate matter are generated which damage the environment and are highly responsible for deterioration of health of human beings, animal kingdom, as well as plants. So I have tried to explain with this simple flow chart, you can say, or a line diagram like that, so that you can write in detail. So the view I have shown here, the air pollution major problem is in this you are seeing, and this air pollution is due to emission of carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, sulfur SOx components, NOx components, fly ash generated, and coal transport. So this air pollution is a major concern in of these thermal power plants. So what are the dangers on the human health? Global warming is there, particulate matter, cardiovascular disease, asthma, and reproductive disorders due to carbon and carbon dioxide, due to sulfur and sulfur components, asthma, bronchitis, eye irritation, throat troubles, NOx due to NOx components, acid rain, and skin cancer, building structure damages, soil quality erosion. The soot formation due to this combustion of the coal. This soot problem creates the problem in breathing, asthma, and cancers in the human beings and living organisms, in living things. Then more water extraction reduces the quantity of water in the earth, and that will create the problem. Land erosion is there. Soil qualities also get destroyed due to the construction during the construction phase. And also one of the major concern is this mercury, uh, which is coming out of this thermal power plant, causes organic system cancers. Then then environmental impact of thermal power plant, a short note can be asked. You can write it in short way, or you can elaborate this. So it was in elaborated form. I have just made it short, as much short as possible, so that you can write a brief or write a note on environmental impacts of thermal power plant. So how the environmental impact of thermal power plant? During the construction of power plant, civil works such as flattening of earth surface, construction of buildings, and change of land pattern are carried out during construction phase. Due to these activities, erosion of land, loss of biodiversity, change of soil quality and quantity, dust and noise pollution, etc., are due to occur in the, and they are the main environmental issues. So this is the during constructional stage, that is during project, when you are starting new one. Soil damages, biodiversity, erosion of the soils, etc., taking place. During operational stage, when after completion of this project, when you start, air pollution, waste generation, water consumption, emission of mercury, greenhouse emission are the environmental issues during operational stage of thermal power plant, particularly coal-based power plants. Impact, third one is of thermal power on water source. New thermal power plant of 500 megawatt installed capacity requires around 14 million meter cube of water per annum. So this much amount of water is going to be used per year. Then you just imagine million meter cube of is being used. So C, which will definitely reduce the quantity of water in that area in the earth. Then high impact on river and groundwater. Water drawn from the once through system is 30 to 50 times that of a closed cycle system. So if once through means the water is being used once, and after condenser, the water or the steam is being sent to, or sorry, the hot water is sent to river, back to river, lake, or pond, you can say. So this is will be more water consumption in such power plants. Potential source of water pollution: cooling tower blowdown. So there are blowdown of cooling tower, draining of the cooling tower due to blowdown has to be taken place due to uh, quality of the water which is being circulated. So we have to take periodical blowdowns, boiler blowdowns. Also same reason for boiler, DM water is there, that is DM plant, and in DM plant also you have to blow down in the DM for getting quality of water. So this potential source of water pollution which is going out of the plant, this also causes the surrounding area get affected because of the chemicals. Coal plant and coal handling plant, dust suppression, ash handling, then uh, effluent from oil handling plant and transformer areas, powerhouse and turbine area effluent, domestic wastewater. This whatever the wastewater coming out of this turbine and boiler area collected in the effluent plant, and also from oil handling plant, ash handling plant. So these are the also causing the uh, environment impact. Okay, that is soil erosion, land damages, etc., and also some other problems which we'll discuss later in the later slides. Largest emitter of mercury: typical power plant emits 90% of the mercury into the air and 10% on land. On the average, 65 tons of mercury released in the atmosphere by Indian thermal power plant. So what is the effect of, now we are seeing just impact, and what are the results of this emissions of mercury and etc. We'll see in the next slide. Air pollution, and fifth one is, so we saw sixth one directly. Okay, this fifth one is air pollution due to thermal power plant. Air pollution, just I told in the last slide that air pollution from point source, particulate matter, gaseous emissions, sulfur dioxide, oxides of nitrogen, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, hydrocarbon. Air pollution from non-point source, transportation of coal, unloading of fuel, coal storage yard, fly ash handling, and transportation, coal storage yard. So these are the major environmental impacts of thermal power plant. That's during construction, during operational stage, and water source. Fourth one is mercury, and fifth air pollution, and sixth potential source of water pollution. So these are the impacts on the environment. Then we'll see, we have seen the impact of thermal power plant. Now we'll study health effects of power plants and air pollution. So we saw in last is mercury, soot, sulfur components, carbon, and NOx components are the major sources or major emittents or emissions which cause the air pollution in the surrounding area of the power plants. So first we'll see the mercury. Again, I have made it optimized this one so that you can write a short note or a brief on this particular health effects of power plants and air pollution. So mercury, environmental exposure to E1, low levels of Hg can have serious effects on the health of affected individuals. Ingestion of or inhalation of this toxic metal via contaminated air or water will cause damage to almost anyone's organ system and increase the lifetime risk of developing cancers. So mercury, see how much danger it is. Soot, which is a particulate matter also, so in the small particles form, generated from incomplete combustion of various hydrocarbon compounds, is a major pollutant generated by power stations. While airborne, soot is virtually invisible, means it is not seen. However, it will settle as a black film on any exposed surface. Soot is associated with acute breathing difficulties, worsening of asthma in susceptible persons, and occupation-related cancers. Third one is SOx components and their impact on environment and health. The emission of sulfur dioxides and particulate matter into the air found to be double when compared to the emissions of cars, trucks, and factories every year. In addition to SO2, other SOx like sulfate SO2, SO3 2 minus, which contains particulate matter, pollute the air and water and producing sulfuric acid H2SO4, a major consent of acid rain. These SOx air pollutants, upon inhaling, destabilize normal heartbeats and cause heart attacks. High exposure to SO2 by pollution livings near plants led to them commonly suffering from suffocation, wheezing, coughing, and reductions of lung functions. This is very serious in thermal power plant. I also observed this one. The carbon, sulfur, nitrogen react with oxygen and produce their respective oxides: carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, sulfur trioxide, nitrogen oxide, nitric oxide, etc. The emission of these gases have been correlated with many health problems directly and indirectly, including skin, cardiovascular, brain, blood, and lung diseases, and different cancers. Both CO and CO2 cumulatively have harmful impacts on the environment in the form of global warming and greenhouse gases emission. The CO2 emission from coal combustion during power generation also leads to the interaction of CO2 with particulate matter, which thereby changes the air quality and leads to increased asthma attacks and other respiratory and cardiovascular diseases with underlying poor life expectancy rates. So, inhaling particulate matters may cause some dangerous diseases, including chronic obstructive pulmonary diseases, COPD, and lung cancer. So, this is the dangerous of danger due to carbon emission or carbon monoxide, carbon contains in the air. NOx components also are emitted by this thermal power plant assault on human health and the environment. How they are affecting during carbon coal combustion? NOx is another major component pollutant with highly corrosive properties. This is the corrosive property due to which the metal also get damages, and strong oxidizing ability is released and accumulates in the air and cumulatively damages the environment and health. Domestic use of coal also increases the level of NO2 exposure. NO2, nitrite oxide, and some other NOx were involved in the formation of secondary acidic particles. Some people, however, were found to be vulnerable to lower amounts of NO2 and had asthma attacks upon direct contact with this pollutant. Hydration of NO2 forms nitrous acid, HNO2, and nitric acid, HNO3, by reacting with rainwater, an important component of acid rain. The presence of these acids in the acid rain destroys the vegetations and buildings and causes skin to burn and skin cancer. So you have seen this. What are the what are the effect of these emissions of mercury, soot, SOx component, carbon component, and NOx component on human health and vegetation? So they are very serious. And they have to be controlled. We'll see that how they can be controlled in the next lecture. Before that, we'll see what are the, in brief, types of pollutants and health effects of, just again just revision in the tabular form: NOx or NO2 components, vehicles, domestic and thermal power plants. Sources: health effects, airway irritation, respiratory infection, and impaired lung function. Particulate matter, traffic, industry, biomass, and thermal power plants. Respiratory, cardiovascular, long-term effects, IMR, in mortality rate, infant mortality rate, and low birth weight are the means the dying of the child within a 1 year after birth, and low birth weight, that is less than 5 pounds like that are occurring due to this particular matter. CO, traffic, fuel and industries. COHB we saw, headache, nausea, designs, SOX component, coal and heavy oil combustion, breathing difficulties, irritations of eyes, nose, throat and lungs, asthmatics, lead, petrol, paints industry, intellectual development, poisoning, then benzene. These are not with concerned with the power plants, just it is added in this. Okay, so this is in brief about the uh, environmental impact of the thermal power plants, and then their effect on the human being and vegetation. Then what are their impacts on the health, and in short also in general we saw in this particular lecture. So I hope you understood. This is the theoretical part. Just I've gone through it. I hope in next, that will be the last lecture of this unit 2 and part 2 of environmental impacts on of this thermal power plant.